alone would kill 51,000 Americans next year. And the more people learn about its details, the less popular Trump's signature legislation becomes law, and his attempt to move more money from the poor and working poor to the wealthy than was transferred during chattel slavery. And because of this, you cannot be silent, and the cries of the people will not be silent. That is why this regime is in panic. And when an authoritarian is weak, he will do anything to get attention. But we don't have to give Trump and MAGA what they want.
Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing?
We don't have to bow by waving a flag at his parade. Our demonstration of moral
just gonna hang out and just, and me and my wife got to be some other stuff. We might try to cover that military parade today, but I was just gonna just hang out for a little bit and show there's no King's Day protest.
Because the truth is, when it comes to the need to stand up for the Constitution over a ruler who would ignore the court, we are indivisible. When it comes to the need to repair breaches between those who have health care and those who don't, we are indivisible. When it comes to the conviction that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, we are indivisible. When it comes to our commitment that no child should go hungry in this, the richest nation in the world, we are indivisible. And when it comes to the central role of government to serve the people rather than to serve a king, we are indivisible.
And this is going on in Los Angeles, people.
Now, might I close as a preacher? In the book of Daniel in the Bible, there is an ancient story. But three young men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were thrown into a fiery furnace for their refusal to bow. They refused to bow to a king that loved to put his name on buildings and ride around and make everybody bow to him. Well, they were thrown in, and they were not consumed, however, by the flames of the furnace. Instead, as they were thrown in, the people witnessed a fourth force come in and walk them through the fire. My fellow Americans, I stopped by this afternoon to remind you that when we tap into our moral power and refuse to bow, there is a greater power in the universe that will come and stand with us. In the final years of the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa, they used to say, only a dying mule kicks the hardest. So we must maintain discipline, refuse to meet violence with violence, and keep our focus on an agenda that lifts us all to higher ground. We must join hands across all the lines that have been drawn to divide us and stand together as we the people. And when we do, I know a force more powerful than any of our individual actions will come and stand with us in the fire. That's what the best of American history has taught us. I stopped by to tell you and remind you today that the force of truth, the force of love, the force of justice, and the force of equality is more powerful than any would-be king. More powerful than brute force, more powerful than mean money, more powerful than big tech feudalism, more powerful than anything we know. When we stand up and when we stand together and when we refuse to bow, we can build a movement to save the heart and soul of America. Are you standing? When the founders refused to bow to King George, a fourth force stood with them. When the slave abolitionists right here in Philadelphia, black and white, refused to bow to the king-like rule of chattel slavery and slave masters, a fourth force stood with them. When women, black and white, refused to bow to those who didn't want them to vote, a fourth force stood with them. When segregationists and Jim Crow politicians lips dripped with the words of interposition and nullification, people like Rosa Parks and Viola LaRussa and Fannie Lou and Martin and Rabbi Heschel, men and women of every birth, refused to bow, and a fourth force stood with them. And I tell you, the force of truth and the force of love and the force of equality and the force of justice is more powerful than any would-be king named Trump or MAGA or anything. So it's time. It's time for us to stand together like never before. Because when we all get together, we have the power to reconstruct American democracy. Did you know that if just 20% of us, if we organize 20% of the non-voters in the last election, especially poor and low-wage voters who couldn't see how casting a ballot could make a difference in their lives, if we can organize them, we can upend the whole political calculus. If we go to every state, not just the so-called swing state, but every state, and if we win back some of our confused friends, we can upend the whole political calculus. If we refuse to bow and stand up for policies that make life better for every American, if we come together just one more round in history to fight for the heart and soul of this democracy, I declare unto you that when the work is done, when we finish organizing, when we've done praying and preaching, when we finish marching, when we finish registering voters, when we finish our nonviolent action, I guarantee you truth will win, justice will win, equality will win, justice will win, and on that day we will truly be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Stand! 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 Stand!
Really appreciate you, and I appreciate the press for being here. It means you care. You need my glasses. I'm not a young man anymore. We all have busy lives, and it's hard to make ends meet, and it feels a little desperate here in the United States today. Whether you're just starting your life like so many young people, or holding on for dear life, as so many older folks are doing here now. I think that's the way a lot of people all over the USA are feeling right now. We're holding on for dear life. That's the way the immigrant families who are being torn apart are feeling. That's the way the businesses who rely on those immigrant families for a workforce or for customers are feeling. And that's the way the blue-collar folks all over the country are feeling. That's the way the moms who are doing the grocery shopping are feeling. And that's the way the families who love people who are sick and ill or dying of cancer or in the hospital, worried that their insurance is going to be canceled, are feeling. I know that's how I feel. When I look at my phone or the news, the world around me, we're holding on for dear life. And what's dear to us about being alive? What's dear to me is the feeling of calm and peace and safety. What's dear to me is my health and my family and my friends and my work and my neighbors and my community and all the different beautiful people of this country. That's what's dear to me. That's what's dear to us. You might have forgotten that. And what's dear to me is this democracy and this feeling of togetherness and unity and brotherly and sisterly love and respect and care for one another that this movement is engendering in all of us today. I'm here because no matter how messy the founding fathers of this nation, how messy the founding fathers of this nation may have been, when we got one thing right. We wanted a nation for the people, by the people, that made each man, woman, and child equal, no matter what race or religion or anything else used to divide us as people. And that we would rule by the belief and trust in one another. That we didn't want to be ruled by a king or a monarch or a dictator or a supreme leader or some crappy-ass CEO. That sucked. We hated that. That's why we came to America. We literally started a whole new country based on the simple idea of no kings. And it's that idea that brought most of us here, unless you're an American native or a Mexican, to this country. We built this country strictly on the no kings rule my country, my body, or my bank policy. That and the simple notion that you can't be arrested and tossed into a dungeon or a detention center or a concentration camp or some damn basement without a fair trial. We don't fuck with that. Sadly, today, Donald Trump and the administration of billionaires, crackpots, and ice brigades have taken over. We have a king and his court and his beige henchmen, and they're trampling on our rights and our laws and our freedoms, making themselves richer with taxpayer dollars and making us less safe with their love of other kings and dictators and the likes of Putin and Netanyahu and Kim Jong-un of the world. Well, Trump today is blowing $45 million of our tax money on his kingly dictator's military birthday bash in our nation's capital. We are gathering here by the hundreds of thousands in locations of thousands around the USA and the world in the spirit of our founding fathers, and our brothers and sisters of the Boston Tea Party. We're patriots and we're lovers of democracy. And we're here to celebrate the land of the brave and the home of the free. And the one thing that King Trump and his masked henchmen are making clearer and clearer every day, every law they break, every single day, is that we are going to have to be brave if we want to be free. Being brave for what we hold dear, our freedoms, our democracy, and each other. It's on us, guys. We're literally together. We're the Avengers now. No one's gonna come and save us, man. Americans unite. Who's up?
Thank you guys so much for being here and coming out. I think it's our last speaker. Yeah. I think it's our last speaker right now before we do our press gaggle. We have fabulous people back here to talk to all of you as well. If you stick around, there's some really great folks. The last one's going to be Charles Pond from Strong Economy for All for something quick to close us out.
Good afternoon. My name is Charles Pond, coming to you from Brooklyn. Today, hundreds of thousands of people across the country are coming together to say no kings and no dictators. But that's not all we're saying no to, right? Hundreds of thousands of people will be in the street. Millions of people will watch online. Millions of people will see it on their TVs. And if you're at home and you're wondering why we're here, it's no kings, but it's also no to mass goons disappearing our neighbors and our families and our loved ones. It's no to a government that is run by and for billionaires at our expense. It is no to taking away health care from millions of people to hand out tax cuts to billionaires. It's no to trying to destroy our public institutions like education It's no to laying off thousands.
Marchers, the civil rights movement, the women's movement, the labor movement, the peace movement, the women's march, the environmental movement, the LGBTQ movement, March for Our Lives, and the climate movement. We may not be founding fathers in the 18th century, but we are founding fighters in the 21st century.
Now, I know what happened in Minnesota. We're probably going to talk about it later. Sherelle was doing some stuff, so I just figured I was watching this, and I just have y'all join me. But there's a lot of news to talk about later.
You want free speech and democracy in America. You want a king? You want a king who thinks, like all kings, that women are his property and he can grab whomever he wants, wherever he wants? Or do you want a democracy run by strong women and strong men, strong enough to be the allies of women and not their attackers and harassers? You want a king who stages coups and insurrections and lies about elections? Or do you want a constitutional right to vote in America? Free from all the gerrymandering and voter suppression. Do you want an imperialist takeover of Greenland and Canada and Panama? Or do you want statehood for Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico? Hey, you want a king who tries to erase history and disappear the truth? Or do you want Bruce Springsteen, who tells them the truth all over the world? You know, Donald Trump never talks about the framers because he knows nothing about them. But the framers knew a lot about people like Donald Trump. Sometime between now and the 4th of July, Mr. President, you must read the Declaration of Independence, because Thomas Jefferson could have been writing about you. He told the people of America to rise up against King George and his lust for absolute tyranny. Jefferson denounced a king who, quote, sent swarms of officers to harass our people, who kept amongst us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures, and quartered large bodies of armed troops amongst us. A king who cut off our trade with all parts of the world and imposed tariffs and taxes on us without our consent. A king who excited domestic insurrections against us. A king who repeatedly obstructed the laws of naturalization of foreigners to our land. A king who tried to make judges dependent on his political will alone. Yes, Donald, the Declaration and the Constitution were written by people who wanted to stop criminal bosses like you from taking state power. We the people, in order for a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and preserve to ourselves and our posterity the blessings of liberty, do hereby ordain and establish the Constitution of these United States of America. That's our preamble. That's our mission statement. And the very next sentence in Article 1 provides all legislative powers shall be vested in a Congress of the United States of America. The people's branch, the lawmaking body for whom the president works as an executive. Sometimes people say we're three co-equal branches. Really, first of all, co-equal is not even a word, okay? That's like extremely unique. If we're co-equal, why is it Congress has the power to impeach a president for treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors, and he doesn't have the right to impeach us? Congress has the power to pass budgets and taxes. We've got the power to create departments and spend money. We have the power to regulate commerce with foreign nations and therefore to enact tariffs, which is why his tariffs have been struck down by United States District Court. We've got the power
to declare war, not the president. If anybody's going to declare war on Venezuela, it's going to be the Congress of the United States, not Stephen Miller or Tulsi Gabbard or Pete Hegseth or anyone else in their Signal chat room. No, you don't get to be a monarch or a dictator in America, and you don't get to be on the payroll of monarchs and dictators from other countries. Sorry, Donald, you don't get to keep the millions of dollars you've pocketed from Saudi Arabia, from China, from the United Arab Emirates or Qatar. You've got to return all the money your golf courses and country clubs have gotten from the secret.
Apparently that must have cut off for a second. But no, no, he's back. It's a whole lot of news we're going to cover today. When Sherelle finished all the things she needs to take care of, her and Pop's probably going to come back on and talk about the Minnesota and all these other things that's been
The
happening.
framers were clear. You get paid by the people of the United States to whom you owe a duty, not Putin and the kleptocrats of Russia, not bin Salman and the theocrats of Saudi Arabia, not Orban or the autocrats of Egypt and Turkey. The framers wanted an undivided duty to the American people. You can't sell out our Constitution to build your luxury hotels in Gaza or a golf course in Greenland. My friends, the people are winning all over America. The bullies are on the run. We ran Elon Musk out of town. And Musk now says that Trump should be impeached. And Trump says that Musk should be investigated for his tens of billions of dollars in federal contracts. And for once, they're both right. My friends, fascism will not be the end of American democracy. American democracy will be the end of fascism. We will stand up for democracy and human rights and freedom all over the world. We will stand with President Zelensky and the people of Ukraine against Putin's filthy, bloodthirsty invasion. We will stand with the people of Greenland, the people of Europe and Africa, the people of Canada and Mexico, for our common right to trade with each other, to respect each other, to travel and migrate and seek asylum without fear and without terror. We are the ones fighting against terror and tyranny today. And I look at you today, Philadelphia, and I know we are winning. We are winning. I will leave you with the words of the great Tom Paine, who my son Tommy was named after. And Tom Paine got to this beautiful city in 1774, 2 years before the American Revolution. He fell in love with your city, and he fell in love with this land. He said, if America lives up to its values and its ideals, it will become, he said, an asylum to humanity. Not an insane asylum, mind you, okay? A place of refuge for people seeking freedom from religious and political and intellectual and economic oppression from around the world. And he wrote the greatest pamphlet in our history, Common Sense, which ignited the American Revolution against the kings and the queens and the lords and the dictators. But 1776 was a tough year. The country was split down the middle, and half of the people were saying, you can't beat the greatest military empire that ever existed. You can't overthrow a tyrannical king. It won't work, they said. But half the people said, let's give it a try. Let's pledge to ourselves our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honor to build a government that rests on the consent of the governed and the rights and the freedoms of the people. But in 1776, Paine wrote another pamphlet called The American Crisis to give people hope, to see it through all the way. And I'm going to quote a little passage for you. I'm going to update the language pursuant to instructions from Nancy Pelosi, because she said Tom Paine was a feminist and he wouldn't mind. And that he was fighting for women's voting rights in the 18th century. But Paine said this, he said, these are the times that try men and women's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will shrink at this moment from the service of their cause and their country. But everyone that stands with us now will win the love and the favor and the affection of every man.
Yeah, people. So we still plan on doing a show today to talk about the Minnesota thing with Pops. A lot of things that's happened. Some close footage of some of the ICE protests we've been having. But right now, until everybody sort of settled in and finished their chores or whatnot, I just figured we'd just hang out probably for another good 30 minutes or so, if that's cool. If you guys want to, maybe a little longer, but let me just see if Pops might
And we have to be here for the people who can't be here because they don't feel safe to come out today.
I think I might need to stop that. I don't know if I can have that kind of music. But anyway, people. So basically, it's a lot going on. You got the military, Trump's birthday / military parade going, I think probably about 6:30 on the East Coast. So we might try to do something with that. We got to catch up on the news with all the craziness of what's going on in Minnesota. It's bad, people. I mean, with the ICE protests, how they just trying to strike fear into everybody. Any means necessary. And throw all this stuff out, hoping people miss the things behind the scenes that they're trying to do to us in our country. All the laws, all the politics behind the scenes. They throw all this stuff out to distract us. So we're gonna try to get down to some stuff today. In a couple hours, but I was just sitting there just browsing, just watching this. I was like, well, maybe I just throw it out there and have some people hang out. So it's like I don't have much of a show for myself just playing for right now, but just hanging out. Just sort of hanging out. Let me see if that music on. Nah. But yeah, basically just hanging out. And thanks for all the Father Day wishes. And for all the fathers out there, happy Father's Day weekend. Hope everybody just enjoying it. But people are out there in the streets today. They're out there all across the country. No King's Day protest. You got the ICE protest going on. They're arresting people left and right. Then the craziness in Minnesota. Me and Sherelle was pulling up some stuff to either cover that later. So, and that we may do a bigger thing on her channel. So we're gonna see. So I just figured we'd just hang out, do a little something. But if you got things to do, don't feel bad. You ain't got to just sit here because I'm just hanging out. So let me see if that music on. Well, let me try something else. It was another update. I think they was talking about something. Let me see what they got. Let me see. I think I might have to add it. Share screen. No. Oh, how did I do that? Shit, I don't forget how I did it. Hold on. Give me a second. I don't got confused here. If I guess stop. Let me see. Oh, maybe I got to go here. Present. Well. Okay, give me a second, people. I don't did something that probably wasn't right. What's up, Annette? Thanks for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Let me see. I don't messed up something. I had something. Let me see. Okay, they may be having another speaker. Let me see. But anyway, yeah, I'm trying to get this stuff. I'm not the best at this technical stuff, but I'm trying to learn though. Need some sound here. Okay.
All ages, young and old, in every color imaginable. Families, sororities, fraternities, activists, and everyday people. Not one instance of violence in the sweltering heat. People unrolling prayer blankets towards Mecca, others walking to tents to observe Shabbat. It was a beautiful day. And 700 miles away in Jacksonville, Florida, a gunman with a swastika carved into his weapon opened fire in a predominantly Black community and shot dead 3 people. Same day, same country. A tale of 2 Americas, much like the tale of 2 wolves. You all have heard the story, right? We talk about it a lot in our home, and it goes that a Cherokee grandmother told her granddaughter about a battle that goes on inside every person. My child, she says, the battle is between 2 wolves. One is full of anger, division, chaos, greed, arrogance, self-pity, resentment, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other is full of joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, community, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The granddaughter thought for a moment and asked, well, which wolf wins? The grandmother pulled her close and said, the one you feed. I stand before you today, not in anger, but in love. Not the sentimental kind, but a bold, unwavering, truth-telling love. A mother's love, a people's love, a love that says, I will fight for you, even when I don't know your name. Because your liberation is bound up in mine. We gather at a crossroads, one that asks us once again, is this America? Is this America when tanks roll through our neighborhoods, but healthcare doesn't? Is this America when flash bombs fall on peaceful protesters, but not on injustice? Is this America when the First Amendment is honored in print, but punished in practice? Let me be clear. This is not patriotism. This is performance. This is not leadership. This is illusion. And this, my brothers and sisters, is not democracy. This is the creeping shadow of authoritarianism, cloaked in power and pride. But we will not be deceived by noise and spectacle, because the true strength of this nation is not in its missiles, but in its morality. not in its parades, but in its people. Not in fear, but in freedom. It's been a long few months, and I hear so many of us talking about anxiety and depression and despair. But when I despair, I remember the words of Gandhi. There may be tyrants and murderers, but in the end, they always fall. Because true force, what he called soul force, satyagraha, is more powerful than any other weapon. That's the force of love. That's the force of justice. That's the force of everyday people saying enough. So I ask you again, where do we go from here? Chaos or community? That's right, we choose community. We choose the deep national healing that we so badly need. We choose to realize the dream, because it's not radical to care about all children, not just the ones who look, pray, or love like your own. It's not radical to believe in the words carved on the base of the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. It's not radical to serve, to protect, to protest, to love. No, it's not radical. It's American. And that's why we're going into communities across this country, not with closed fists or with tanks, but with open hearts and open arms. We are showing up with truth in our hands and love in our voices, because we love this country. And we know that loving America means holding it accountable to its highest promises.
She's speaking from Philadelphia and is also Los Angeles.
Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of levels of love, the highest being agape, and the highest level is not passive. It's a force that challenges systems, not just sentiments. That's the love that we need now. That's the love that will unify us. So let us raise our voices, not in hate, but in hope. Let us march, not to divide, but to build. Let us love, not to escape the struggle, but to endure it together. Because we are one people, one nation, under God, indivisible, with and justice for all. Thank you.
Yeah, people, but it's some crazy stuff. Let me.
Good afternoon.
I think somebody already speak, but
Let me first say that we send all of our prayers and support to those families that lost their loved ones who are elected officials in Minnesota. We also today must start, because I come from the nonviolent tradition, as many of us do. And I can't imagine what my father nor mother are thinking as we go through this period of history. Beyond the fact
that we must stay engaged and stay on the battlefield until truth, justice, freedom, and equality exist for all humankind. I am deeply honored to stand with you today in the city of brotherly love. A city steeped in the dream of liberty, a city that birthed a nation, and a city that has long carried the flame of resistance in the face of oppression. Philadelphia, you are no stranger to struggle. You were a sanctuary for runaway slaves, a refuge for the righteous abolitionists, a crossroads for the Underground Railroad, and today you're once again a sacred ground where justice calls and freedom answers. So it is only fitting that we gather here today, not in fear, but in faith, not in despair, but in defiance. We gather here in the shadow of Independence Hall to declare that we, the people, still believe in democracy. We still believe in justice. And we still believe in a nation without kings, without tyrants, without rulers who place themselves above the law. We're here to say this land belongs to the people, not to the monarchs, not to the autocrats, not to strong men, but to the people. Just as the generation of 17 and 76 cast off the crown and proclaimed a republic, we, the generation of 2025, pledge to keep faith with that sacred inheritance and let it be known to every corner of this land. We will not let democracy die on our watch. Yes, we're deeply troubled, my friends, by efforts to use fear as a weapon, to use immigration as a scapegoat, to silence the voice of the people through martial force. But we are not afraid, we're not intimidated, and we will not be moved. We will stand, we will march, we will sing, and we will speak peacefully, powerfully, and persistently until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. Let us be clear. Let us be perfectly clear that to deport anyone without due process is not only illegal, it is immoral. It is a betrayal of our Constitution and of our highest values. We are one nation under God, indivisible, not with division and detention, but with liberty and justice for all. We reject the militarization of our streets. We say to those in power, if you want to honor our armed forces, do not parade them through the streets like pawns on a chessboard. Honor them by caring for their bodies, their minds, and their futures. Honor them by protecting democracy, not parading over it. Let us use those hundreds of millions of dollars not to inflate egos, but to uplift the people. Use it to fund our schools, to heal our sick, to protect our elderly, to care for our veterans. That is real patriotism. That is real love of our country. And I say to every protester, every marcher, every dreamer in this moment, commit yourselves to nonviolence. Not merely as a strategy, but as a way of life. My father taught us that nonviolence is the sword that heals. It is the weapon of the strong. It turns enemies into friends and injustice into redemption. Every gain of the modern civil rights movement that was made was won through disciplined, determined nonviolent love, I should say. Remember, the forces of repression are watching for us to slip up. They're waiting to point at a broken window and ignore a broken system. They're waiting for an excuse to crush what they cannot control. We must not give it to them. Even one act of violence can undo the moral power of 1,000 voices. So let our protest be loud, but let it also be loving. Let it be fierce, but let it be faithful. Let it be firm, but never fueled by hate. So train your hearts in the discipline of peace. Prepare your minds for the long road ahead. And walk together, children. Don't you get worried. But there's a great camp meeting in the promised land of justice. So as I close this afternoon, I want to say to you, have faith in democracy. Have faith in the power of the people. Have faith in truth over lies, light over darkness, love over hate. We walk not alone, for God walks with us. And if God be for us, who can be against us? So let us rise up with faith. Let us march home with courage. And let us keep climbing toward that great day when liberty is no longer a promise, but a lived reality.
Well, anyway, his voice seemed to be fading. But people, look, it's a lot of things going on. A lot of things going on in the U.S. today. We got the ICE protests, and we all been watching that for the last 4 or 5 days. People getting arrested. We got the No Kings Day. Then we got the idiots' ego on display today with this military parade celebrating his birthday. I think 69th birthday, no, 79th birthday. It's a total mess. And we got millions on millions of people out there on the street. And he sit there want to pat himself on the back, acting like he's some dictator or something. That's what he want to be. But this shit ain't right, man. We got people getting falsely arrested. We got all this racial profiling going on. And we see it every day. And it's just getting worse and worse. It's going to be eventually, I think a lot of people going to get hurt. Like we just seen the incident in Minnesota. We're going to talk about that later in another show. But this is sort of crazy, people. It's a lot. People have had it. People have had it with people just trying to take over and be this dictator and doing nothing for the people. He basically is after everybody unless you're a billionaire. So it was a whole bunch of crazy stuff like with these riots. I'm sure y'all, you guys have been watching them. At night, they got the police out there. They done brung in the Marines in LA, National Guard. I think the National Guard, I think they eventually have to leave, but they got the Marines there. It's a total, it's like a fear mongering thing that Trump trying to put on everybody. He's trying to instill fear, distract you from what he's really doing. Now, it's a total mess. Total mess. But people are all out though, all over this country, from Philadelphia to Chicago, New York, San Francisco, Houston, a lot of places. They all over. And out here in the protest out here today, it's up on Fremont. That's huge too, but it's like 108 degrees out there too. So it's hot too. So something probably gonna pop off. Something's probably gonna pop off. Let me see if I can get this other thing on here. Up. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can go to this other thing and see what they got. There's it better.
This movement and are doing the hard work on the ground of protecting our planet, our immigrant communities, our democracy, our rights, and so much more. And today, given what has happened, I also want to thank members of law enforcement who are here and who today we really need. Thank you again, and now it is my pleasure, I think he's here, to introduce our Attorney General, Keith Ellison.
Friends, I want to ask you if you would be willing to have a minute of silence for Melissa Hortman and Senator Hoffman and their families. Melissa Hortman was a dear friend of mine. Melissa Hortman, I knew her before she and I went to the legislature in 2002. Melissa Hortman, when I met, she was a lawyer for Legal Aid Society. I don't know if you know Legal Aid Society, but this is an agency that works hard to take care for the poorest people in our community. And she was a lawyer, and she had a case where a woman who was a tenant was told that girls didn't have to pay rent if they were nice to the landlord. Melissa, being a valiant, brave, true warrior, and deeply compassionate person, took on that woman's case, and she fought that woman's case. She sued that landlord, and she got a big judgment against that landlord. And I want you to know that. I want you to know a little bit about Melissa, because Melissa is a person where if you did things that she did, you'd be on the right track in your life. She fought for her people. She stood with people. She was a powerful political leader, but she also was a compassionate and kind person. Melissa proved that you could be a politician and be a good person. And I know some people wonder about that sometimes, but she really was both. And she was a powerful political leader and a good person because she understood some basic things about life in our society. She understood that everyone is entitled to due process. She understood that the rule of law is very important and governs a free society. She understood that love means love, and it's not the government's business who you want to be in love with and be married to. She understood that every working person deserves to be represented by a union if they want one. She understood it. She understood that kids learn better on a full stomach, so she fought for universal school meals. She understood that you got to get your family to work, and you may need to drive, and whether you're an immigrant or not, the most important thing is to have a driver's license which says you know how to operate that car. So she fought for driver's license. She also fought for the Minnesota Attorney General's office because she knew that we had to have some fighters in our courtrooms. She stood up to make sure that we had everything that we needed. And so when my office began to fight Donald Trump in court and file lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit against him, it was Melissa Hortman who knew that we would have to have a strong attorney general's office.
I'm not sure where he's speaking
we got what we needed. She would say to me, "How's it going, Keith?" I'd say, "We're fighting, Madam Speaker," because I never called her anything else other than just Melissa. She is a beautiful human being. I want you to know that. I want you to know that because I also want you to hear another important story where a movement lost a valiant leader. Did you know that Martin Luther King, when he lost his life, he was standing with sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee? April 4th, 1968, he was standing with workers who were treated so badly that they needed to lift up a sign that said, "I am a man." That's how poorly they were treated. Racism, discrimination, and hate against them in their job as sanitation workers in Memphis, and Martin Luther King stood with them. And when he lost his life, the people in that march, they knew one thing. The people in that strike, they knew one thing. They knew that they could not stop striking. They knew they could not stop marching. They knew they could not stop demanding justice, because to do less would be to ignore the memory of these great martyrs who have gave everything so we can have a better society. We owe it to them. We have to do it. We must be there on behalf of the people of this country in this hour when a dictator who wants to be a king is trying to run over the rights of the people. We must be there. We must stand up. We must be strong. We cannot waver. We will not be intimidated. We are not scared of his jail. We are not scared of anything about this guy. We are not afraid, and we will not let fear rule the day. We will not let him weaponize fear against us. And I'm telling you now that he had his goons arrest a senator when he was just trying to ask a question. Senator Padilla, wrongfully treated. He had his other goons prosecute and charge Congresswoman McIver in New Jersey, had him arrest the mayor of New Jersey, threatened to arrest the governor of California and the mayor of Los Angeles. This is the behavior of a dictator. And the only question is, what are we going to do about it? We are past the point, friends. We are past the point when we need to convince people that this guy is a dictator. Nobody who studies dictators, nobody who's lived under a dictator would confuse him as anything but a fellow dictator. And if you're wondering about it, anytime he wants to go abroad, where does he go? To the dictators. He goes to the dictators abroad. He's actually jealous of the leaders over there in places like Saudi Arabia, because when they say jump, everybody has to say how high. He wants it to be like that here. No way. No way. No kings. No kings. No kings. We will not have no king. No king. And I want to tell you this. Every bad thing that he's trying to do, he's trying to take away birthright citizenship. He's trying to abolish the Department of Education. He's trying to get rid of USAID to help people in Minnesota and abroad. He's trying to get rid of science grants that help fuel our economy and find new cures. He's trying to persecute the trans community. But I'm gonna tell you, friends, there is a way to do these things if you introduce a bill in Congress, if you follow the law about changing the Constitution, if you go through the regular order and the procedures. But he doesn't want to go through that. He just wants to say, here's another executive order, and just rule the country by proclamation. And that is an act of a king. So we sue him in court. And me and my fellow attorney generals have sued him 27 times. And I have a confession to make. I got to tell you the truth. Yeah, we're good lawyers and we're proud of the work that we do. But friends, we're not winning just because we're good lawyers. We're winning because every single thing he does is so illegal and unconstitutional. It's illegal and unconstitutional. How dare he call the Marines on American citizens protesting their government? Now, let me tell you how truly evil this is. How truly evil this is. Look, some of us here today, maybe we're our veterans, and I want to give them a hand. Some of us maybe did not serve in the military. But I promise you, because my son is a veteran, that everybody who put that uniform on did so to protect their families and their friends and their loved ones. That's why they did it. Now he's telling them to point bayonets at their neighbors. And I just want to let everybody know, if you are a member of the United States Armed Forces or the National Guard, you don't have to follow an illegal and immoral order. You don't have to follow an immoral order. You don't. An immoral order and an illegal order is no order at all. I want you to know that Martin Luther King, he lost his life in the struggle to help sanitation workers, but those workers won that strike. They won that strike, and you and I are going to win too. We're going to win. And many people who we love and are deeply, deeply precious to us are going to suffer. Maybe some of us will face an individual challenge. But for those who don't make it to the end, the rest of you have to carry on. The rest of you have to carry on. You have to promise to us and each other that you will not give up this fight for our country. You have to promise to us and each other, and mostly to yourself. Now I'm going to wrap up, and I want to say this. You may ask yourself, how can I get involved? Well, you are already involved. You did it. But every one of us has to be an ambassador back to America to recruit more and more people to this movement. Every one of us has to reach out. We need the clergy, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, no faith at all, atheists. We need them all. We need to build the movement with our clergy. We need to build a movement with our labor unions. We need more labor groups involved. We need to build our movement with more neighbors, build our movement with more veterans groups, build our movement with more anti-war groups, build our movement. The people who study this say that if you get 3.5% of the country to oppose the dictator, you're gonna win. Did y'all ever hear that? That's on about 12 million people. And I'm gonna tell you, there's clearly 12 million people out protesting Trump today. So no kings, no kings, no kings.
Thanks, Mango, for the super sticker. I truly appreciate it, and thanks for supporting the channel.
All right, we were just listening into this No Kings protest that was going on right there in Minnesota. It's one of many that are happening all across the country. But the key here that we were just listening in, that was the Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison that was just speaking. He mentioned the House leader, Melissa Hortman, there in the state. She was shot and killed in a targeted attack on Democratic lawmakers. So it was the Minnesota State House Democratic leader and her husband who were shot and killed within their home earlier today. This is one of those two targeted attacks. The others who were shot were another Senator John Hoffman and his wife. They have undergone surgery. And as we heard a little bit earlier today from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, saying that he is cautiously optimistic for their recovery. So we'll continue our coverage here on Live Now from Fox, staying on top of all of these breaking news stories, as well as we're taking another look at the protest that's happening there in Los Angeles. This is again for one of those No Kings protests that's happening. We're getting some of these images there as people are taking to the street. It's not the only place that this is happening as well. Also want to put this up on your screen. This is from Chicago. Just got this shot into our newsroom, so we'll continue to keep our eyes on it. There is some profanity on some of the signage, so we always also want to remind you that viewer discretion is advised. All right, we're going to take this time to slide away for a 2-minute commercial break. Stay right here with us on Live Now.
Yeah, so got like a 2-minute break here, and we probably try to go. I'll probably try to go maybe 25 more minutes or something, and then I got to get up, straighten things up, and try to get ready for some more shows. Sherelle and I are gonna try to do today, and try to get Pops on too, because we got that military parade, that birthday celebration. You know, something to feed his ego. So that's gonna be going on. I think 6:30 Eastern, so that's about 3 my time. So it's sort of crazy. But we know who we rolling with. He's pathetic. Pathetic. But I hope everybody's having a nice weekend. If you go to these rallies and stuff, please be safe. Because, I mean, they out there to strike fear in you. And I'm sure it's going to be sad to say, but tempers are rising out there over this weekend. So I just hope no one lose their life. Oh yeah, well, yeah, I'm watching I was basically trying to find who out there was streaming these things, and they had a good view. Because Fox got these different networks, like different things. So sometimes they do air something decent. Let me see. Oops, not this one. Go back to this one. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so hopefully they'll be back in a minute. They give us some more stuff, but yeah, that's gonna be a long day. They've been setting up for that damn parade. I've been watching small things here or there. And they're gonna be flying planes, have tanks going down the avenue, all the works. just like Kim Young or whatever his name is in North Korea. That's the kind of show he's trying to put on today. Thanks, Perry. We miss you here. However, we know you're doing other things with your queen. Yeah, no, I mean, and that stuff should be wrapping up soon too. So maybe we'll be able to go back, every other day or whatnot with some updates. But a lot of stuff happened this week, though. All the riots, they still out there racial profiling. You can't be dark. If you dark out there, you liable to be shipped out, and they don't even ask for no damn ID. Hold on, somebody said. Oh, I don't think you think I can be pausing the commercial? Hold on, let me see. I don't know. No, I mean, typically when I come back, I think they'll just be live, I think. Let me see. Well, oh, shit. I done messed it up, I think.
Harms us.
Oh, I think you're right.
Billionaires get tax breaks, families get raised. That's not freedom. That's feudalism in disguise. But we are not afraid, and we do not bow to kings. We've seen this before in Ferguson, in Standing Rock, after George Floyd, and we rose, we organized, we made the world listen. Now it's our turn again. We march today for the people, for our immigrant neighbors, for the LGBTQIA community, for Black families who deserve justice, for students who are told their history doesn't count, for workers who are told that their lives don't matter. Your lives matter. Your work matters. You matter. We don't bow to kings. We march because democracy is not a parade. This isn't about left or right. It's about right versus wrong. It's about whether power answers to the people or the other way around. We, the people, have the power. Don't get it twisted, and don't let that fake king fool you. We don't bow to kings. So let the message ring out from St. Paul to Washington, D.C. No tanks, no troops, no kings, just us. And I'll close with the reminder. We're not just resisting kings. We're rebuilding democracy, block by block, voice by voice. From Lake Street in Minneapolis to the streets of Los Angeles, we rise together and we will not be silenced. All power to the people! No kings, no kings, no kings, no kings.
Wow, that was exactly the message we all needed to hear today. Thank you so much. Now we've got our next speaker. I'd like to introduce her. It's Sarah, lead organizer with Copal. Thank you.
My name is Sara Guadalupe, and I stand before you, an organizer representing Copal, my immigrant brothers, sisters, and fellow community members. I want you all to look around here today and understand the weight and gravity of this moment. It is no secret that we are witnessing in our country blatant abuse of power and a direct attack on all the ideals of which we are meant to stand for as a nation. We see what is happening across the country in Los Angeles, Austin, Chicago, even in our own streets here in Minneapolis. State governance completely disregarded as military personnel is being weaponized against ordinary people by a wannabe king who considers himself above the law. Throughout history, we have proudly declared that we are a democracy. But I want to ask you, who was this democracy for? Was it for the Dakota people whose land we stand on today? Was it for the enslaved Africans or immigrants whose backbreaking labor is exploited until it no longer fits the king's agenda? This is a historical and pivotal moment. We must continue to resist the fascist and authoritarian regime which is being imposed on us every day. But also, we have the opportunity to use this moment to redefine democracy. We have the opportunity to create a government which does not prioritize the elite billionaires, but rather all people, regardless of their skin color, identity, or economic class. This is what real popular democracy looks like. We must continue to hold this administration accountable. We must continue to resist the breaches of our Constitution, but let us also be clear with our vision and demands. Together, we can fight for a democracy which is authentic and inclusive to all people. We can redefine who we are and what democracy looks like in this country. Together, we can and will prevail. Gracias. Adelante.
All right. We all know that art, culture, and storytelling are critical pieces of this struggle. So next up, we have a Minneapolis poet who some of you may know as Guante. Please welcome Kyle Tran Myrie.
This is about grief and how we hold it and what we might do with it. The ancestor on my shoulder doesn't tell me to put the brick down or that the weight isn't worth it. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that heaviness, right? Whether guilt or grief or just the daily shipwreck of the news, all this information we already know, how things are bad, how they've always been bad for some of us, and how shining a light on the bad thing doesn't change it, but can be a first step. How a big march like this can be a first step, but is never a destination. How going back to normal is going backwards, and how desperately the cowards in power want you going backwards, want you to put the brick down, want you to focus on your job, make money, focus on your family. But I don't have a family without immigrants and refugees. The word family means nothing to me when it doesn't include trans people. The word community means nothing when it doesn't include people with disabilities. Words like justice and peace, they are empty when they don't include Palestinians. There are no billionaires on my block, no kings welcome in my grandmother's kitchen, her voice a beacon. Don't you dare put that brick down, not yet. There are days so heavy they pull the light in. Dawn after darkness, silver lining, guiding star, all that light beyond our reach, and all this heavy held close. These bricks we carry, engraved with the names of all who carried us, made from the mud of home, heavy. Like telling the truth in a nation ruled by liars, heavy, like refusing to leave anyone behind, even when your enemies demand it, even when your allies demand it, heavy, like grief, the ghost we all carry. The ancestor on my shoulder tells me, when you feel yourself flickering, remember, your job is not to be the light, not to shine with perfect clarity or illuminate on your own every evil in this world. Your job is not to be the light. It is to help build the lighthouse. And for that, we need to get our hands dirty. We need to join organizations. We need more than brilliance. We need bricks. No king carries that weight. We do. No king knows the names of our neighbors. We do. No king protects the water, shares food with the hungry, shows up arm in arm with 100 other people when ICE tries to tear apart a family. We do. And we will. And we carry the radiant future, a reckoning, a promise, a song. This weight, this love was never a burden. It is what keeps us strong.
All right, we were just listening in there as this No Kings protest is still happening there in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Again, it's not the only place across the country. These are happening in every single state. We do know that cities, both large and small, have been seeing these crowds gather today for planned protests against President Trump. These events have been promoted as No Kings demonstrations. We do, of course, always want to remind you that viewer discretion is advised for some of these events because we can't control the signage that people show up with as well. So we're continuing to keep an eye on this. This is all, though, ahead of the gatherings that are supposed to happen later this evening, as President Trump will be attending a military parade in Washington, D.C., this to mark the Army's 250th anniversary. It's also President Trump's 79th birthday. All right, we do want to slide away now for a 2-minute commercial break. When we come back, our coverage continues as these live feeds, again, still coming into the newsroom. This one right now in Chicago, as this No Kings protest is going through the streets there in the downtown area. We'll keep our eye on this and much more after this 2-minute break.
All righty. Okay. Anyway, that's a 2-minute break. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get off, people, but we will be back. Let me get with Sherelle, make sure all her stuff is done. It may not be on this channel. It may be on her channel, where we try to catch up with some of this political news and this crazy event that's gonna be happening to feed his ego. But thanks to everybody for hanging out with me. Almost an hour and a half. I appreciate it. Thanks for supporting the channel. And I'll see you guys sometime later today. And thanks for popping in. I appreciate it. Bye.